Welcome to the Sprint Championship. We are here for the third championship on this channel. This time we're returning back to contemporary F1 cars. You can see it's going to be a bit of a mixed grid. Kevin Magnussen in first place. So basically how this works, the grid's randomised for the first race, hence why Magnussen's on pole. And then it goes from there and it's reverse championship grid order for the rest of the season and all the races. There's 5 lap races. And we're going to have a look at the grid of every single race because it will never ever be the same. So we're starting at Japan for, I think it's 6 rounds. So it'll be 3 episodes of this championship. We've got Kevin Magnussen in first, Fernando Alonso in second. He'll be absolutely happy with that. So that's the front row for the rest of us. And right, so there's 20 cars, 20 drivers. Out of all 20, the one possible place I could start for this championship, like, there's a 1 in 20 chance of me starting anywhere, but of course I'd have to start last. Really? Really? Are you being serious? It's a load of rubbish. But nonetheless, we're going to have to continue as best we can. We're back with Red Bull, just because we had such success in the last Red Bull. I figured why not? We might as well continue our Red Bull success. Now, some of the footage might be a little bit shaky and stoppy and starty. That was just because I was not paying attention to what I was doing, and sometimes you don't hit the record button. We're going to just about miss Nico Hulkenberg's rear wing. We've got a teammate Carlos Sainz just ahead of Marcus Ericsson. We've got Kvyat and Perez going side by side through this section. But there goes Hulkenberg again. We're going to take that position back off of him. Thank you very much, Sunshine. We're going to move on again. Like I said, footage didn't always record. We're past both of the Toro Rossos, not quite past the Force Indias as we bin it in the gravel. I'm not sure what we was doing. The car felt weird, I'm not gonna lie. Vettel gets off to a blinding start compared to Alonso. Not very surprised there, but yeah, the car, I didn't feel like I had that much grip, in all honesty. Driving that RB6 was just amazing, and this RB13 wasn't as good. But we're going to dive bomb up the inside of Lewis Hamilton, and I think it was Perez. Yes, it was Perez. I'm so glad we dropped back a little bit. We don't manage to make the move on Lewis Hamilton just yet, but we're going to progress as far as we can and try and make a move on him, maybe into this corner here. It's going to be difficult trying to fight back through the field, but depending on where the grid is, after the next race, in theory, after the first 12 cars, give or take, it'll be a whole lot easier because that will be the slower cars, and it'll be a lot easier to catch people because the faster cars will be held up by the slower cars. So it's going to be very easy to come through the field in some races. Luckily there's no Monaco in this championship, otherwise that would just be ridiculous. We'd see Marcus Ericsson win, which obviously none of us wants to see. We've got his teammate Pascal Wehrlein and Valtteri Bottas napping. They're just purely napping. Like, you could see I was lining them up for the move, but they weren't having any of it. Kevin Magnussen is actually still leading this race at this point in time. He's doing a solid job for the Haas team. You can see what Kimi Räikkönen, who is about to look like they're going to go 3 wide, as a battling with Van Dorn and Lance Stroll. Van Dorn in the wars a little bit. He's struggling around here as McLaren Honda's probably not great. We're going to ride that curb and get past Kimi. We're going to have a look at a little bit of an onboard here. We've got Kimi about to go side by side with Lance Stroll, and they're about to come down to 130. I can see we're just in the background as Van Dorn's getting overtaken by both of the Mercedes, it looks like. So unlucky for him, and in fact he does get overtaken by both Mercedes. But we're going to go practically 3 wide into the braking zone. We're going to go as far left as we can, and we're going to take that position and get past Lance Stroll and Kimi. And it looks like Kimi's about to get past Lance Stroll as well. But further up the field, we have got Sebastian Vettel challenging Felipe Massa and Kevin Magnussen. So Sebastian Vettel is going to look to make a move on Felipe Massa. He's going to get that job done. I'm not sure if he's going to take K-Mag in this section of corners as well. I might have to wait a lap, but he's doing a solid job. Like, Sebastian Vettel's not doing too bad at all. We're going to cruise up to Alonso. Very easy move. He's not going to fight us. He's got no power in his car to try and overtake us. We're on a Red Bull. We've got more downforce than him. It's what we want. But here is Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel is going to go past Kevin Magnussen in the same lap he took Felipe Massa. And there's our teammate Daniel Ricciardo, who is not too far behind Felipe Massa. So Ricciardo could get a podium here, but it looks like Kevin Magnussen is going to be under a lot of pressure from Felipe Massa. Felipe Massa is going to pull to the right hand side. Looks like Ricciardo could also make an opportunistic move here, which he does. He had a little bit of a look, but the downforce we've got, surely Ricciardo's going to go through, and surely he does. So Magnussen's gone from 1st to 4th in the space of a sector, which is embarrassing for the poor kid, but we're set in purple sectors, left, right and centre. We're going to cruise up to the back of Jolyon Palmer, another car that shouldn't be too difficult. We're going to ride the grass a little bit, throw up our hand like, what are you doing in this position, Jolyon? You should be in like P20. Ocon is our next target. We got the Force India not too far back in the field. We got one quite close, but there is Kevin Magnussen, the guy who is rather slow compared to ourselves. Fair enough, he did get overtaken by Felipe Massa, which probably did help, but we will cruise up to the back of him and hopefully overtake him before the end of the lap, and hopefully, you never know, we could get past our teammate. If not, maybe Felipe Massa. That'd be fantastic. Going to dispose of Kevin Magnussen into the end of the penultimate lap. We've got Ricciardo not too far ahead. Here's Fernando Alonso, bless him. Just go trundling along. Just going to get overtaken by Bottas. He's like a turtle, bless him. He's got no hope in hell of actually getting anywhere or getting any pace. Hopefully, he can finish in the points. That'd be solid for Fernando Alonso if he could do that. But we are in pursuit of our teammate Daniel Ricciardo, and there is Felipe Massa not too far ahead. We're going to take full advantage of how close we are to Daniel Ricciardo, and we're going to try and take full advantage of Felipe Massa if possible. Now we're going to put up in the rich just because we do want to catch him. Like we want that Williams behind us. Not for any specific reason, just I want that Williams behind us. So we're going to come in. We're not quite going to take him through 130R, but we are going to go to the left hand side. Very similar to Lance Stroll. He squeezes us very nicely. Fair enough, Felipe. You made that a little bit scary, but we're going to come across P2, and we're going to come across the line in P2 as Sebastian Vettel takes his first win of the Sprint Championship. And ironically, that's actually only Vettel's 5th win in Championship mode on my channel. So Vettel only got 5 wins so far. Not doing too good. Not doing too good. Could be better. Could be better, but nonetheless, he's done a solid job for Ferrari. So he's going to get them off to a fantastic start. Felipe Massa, again, putting the brakes on us. Worried me a little bit. I didn't think that... I don't know what he was doing. He could have squeezed us a little bit too much. Like if we went to the right as he went to the left, that could have been both of our races over. And that would have put Danny Ricciardo in P2. But there's Sebastian Vettel. 5th win in championship mode. Not bad. Solid result from P20 to P2. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of this pans out. I mean, I think Vettel and Massa had it relatively easy starting towards the front of the grid, but we're winning on constructors, which is perfect. And next race we're going to move on into is actually going to be the Brazilian Grand Prix. So I reckon the factor of this championship is basically going to be our starting from the back. More or less every race. This race, not too much, but 19th. Which is basically the back of the grid. But nonetheless, we're going to do what we can and make up as many positions. Marcus Ericsson on pole position for this race because he had such a shocking race, bless him. I think he started relatively midfield and ended up at the back. But nonetheless, we're going to do what we can. Once again, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be really, really intriguing to see how we do and where we progress. But... it's basically lost the first championship every race. If we do good this race and beat Vettel, which is pretty likely, then we could be starting last every single race, which is going to be fun. But in some races, I reckon it's going to be very tricky. But ourselves and Ricciardo, more or less at the back of the grid. Another race in sunset, which it looks awesome. But nonetheless, we had a weird flag come up on the screen. I didn't like that. I hope I ain't got a penalty already before I even start the race. But nonetheless, we're going to get on the way. Here comes Sebastian Vettel. We're going to squeeze him against Massa. So Vettel's got nowhere to go. And we're going to go around the outside. We're going to go on the grass as we look at our teammate coming through the centre as we bang tyres. We're going to have to go a little bit slower. We bang tyres with Massa as well. So tyres going everywhere. We have a warning for causing a collision, which I think is a bit unfair. I don't think we could have done much in that position. We were trying to get around the corner without going off the track. But there goes Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen's been disposed of. Magnussen might end up finishing last this race, bless him. But we've got our teammate Daniel Ricciardo, who is just ahead of us. And we'll try and make a meal of Ricciardo if possible. Now, this shot, when I was going through the replay cameras, is so nice. the thumbnail, you probably see it just looks so nice under the sunset. I don't think this camera really does it justice because you can't see the sunset, but nonetheless, we're just going to go side by side with our teammate all the way through these corners, and eventually we're actually probably going to get past him, which is what we want to see. But we've got Romain Grosjean, who was starting P3 after a terrible race in Japan. There goes, I think it was Stoffel Van Dorn in P4, almost gets past him. He's going to go side by side through the center S's, but the two Saubers are also going to scrap all the way through, which could benefit Romain Grosjean massively later on through this race. But we did get past Ricardo. We're going to get past Jolyon Palmer as well. We're going to give him a little bit of a nudge wide because we don't really like Palmer particularly. But about to start lap 2, you can see Grosjean has caught up massively to the two Saubers. He's going to go past Pascal Wehrlein into turn 1 pretty comfortably, I'd say. Even though Pascal Wehrlein is going to fight back just a little bit. But Romain Grosjean up into P2, and he's looking good for the win so far. But just a little bit further back behind that is Kvyat trying to make a P3, and he does. So Kvyat is up to P3, which is a fantastic job from him, considering he's been nowhere in terms of real life, and he's about to be replaced by Pierre Gasly. Or in this case, by the time this goes out, he will have already been replaced and by Malaysia. But we're going to go past Fernando Alonso, make our way up into P14. So we're looking solid for some points at the moment, as all the slower cars are now bunching up the midfield as well as some of the leaders. You've got Kimi not too far ahead, and we're actually just going to steal that position away from Esteban Ocon. But we're going to have to stay behind Kimi just for a little bit longer, and maybe take him into the next right-hander under the braking zone, as he's going to get slowed up by Valtteri Bottas. And indeed, we do get past Kimi Räikkönen. That's P12. We are making some solid gains on the rest of the field. But about to start lap 3, Romain Grosjean is about to take the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. He's going to go the long way around of the Sauber, and he's actually going to take him before turn 1. And there's Kvyat actually going past the Sauber driver as well. So Danny Kvyat has moved himself up to P2. So it's going to be a straight fight between the Haas driver and the Toro Rosso driver for the win. Even though Marcus Ericsson might try and come back, that Ferrari engine isn't going to do a lot of effort for him in the back of that car. But we're cruising up to Lance Stroll. We're going to go along the curb. He gets out of it. We're going to have a look at Bottas and hopefully get past Bottas here and sit behind Carlos Sainz here in P10. But Bottas gives us a little bit of a nudge, puts us offline a little bit. So Bottas does hold the position, but we'll get him here because we want to get past him, because that was very cheeky of the Finnish driver. We're behind our junior teammate Carlos Sainz. We're going to dive it up his inside. We'll stop with Van Dorn there now, which we should catch before the end of the straight, because he is in a McLaren, we're in a Red Bull. Not the biggest advantage we have on him, but sure enough, we are catching him hand over fist, and we should do remotely well to actually get past him. And indeed we do. We've got Lewis Hamilton just ahead of us. He's actually behind one of the Saubers, which is ironic because they're going pretty slow. But here we go. We've got Valtteri Bottas going side by side with Sainz and Alonso. So it's going to be 3 wide into this corner. This is just behind us as we overtook Carlos Sainz. Yes, that's what it was. But nonetheless, we actually do get past, and so does Bottas as well. So Bottas is following us through. We go past Wehrlein, who started in P2, who's now down to P8. But here comes Nico Hülkenberg on the as the final lap's about to start. Nico Hülkenberg is actually going to come through and actually take P3. So Nico Hülkenberg is doing a fantastic job at the moment. So at the moment it stands as Grosjean, Kvyat and a Hülkenberg, which is a very interesting podium. And Nico Hülkenberg could add to his podium tally in this championship mode. But nonetheless, we are going to continue on, and we've got Sergio Perez and Marcus Ericsson just ahead of us. We could win, we could win and get a podium here. As far as I'm concerned, that would be classed as a win. But I feel that Hülkenberg might be a little bit too far ahead. We're definitely going to get P4, hopefully, if we can take it down the inside of Sergio Perez. I don't think we can get any closer to that white line. Perez is going to come back at us, though. And we're going to have to go the long way around here as well. But we should have DRS to get rid of that threat from Sergio Perez. But we do make it through. But here is your race winner, Romain Grosjean. He's got Kvyat behind. Grosjean is going to take his first win in the championship mode, and Grosjean will come across the line to take 25 points in this championship. So which will move him up, quite high up. So we come across the line in P4. Solid drive again from P20, but it's only going to get more difficult as some of the faster cars do start to get up the grid a little bit more and start to filter towards the back. But Gunther Steiner is a very happy man. Who wouldn't be? Obviously, Grosjean coming across the line to take his first win is something he's going to be very happy with. It's going to be interesting to see the driver standings and constructor standings. Hopefully, we're doing just as good as we normally would, but Haas boys are celebrating, and they have a right to. Their man's done a solid job for them this afternoon. Valtteri Bottas down in P8, so he gets some more points on the board. But there is Romain Grosjean, his first championship win, and a solid job from him. Nico Hulkenberg adding to his podium tally. So that brings Hulkenberg up to, I believe, 13, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Haas moves up to second place in the championship ahead of the Works Ferrari team. So fair play to him. The drivers and constructor standings, not that much different. Grosjean moves up to third. But the next race will be at America. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Until then, guys, I'll see you then. Bye-bye.